Hi everyone, my name is Hamna. I'm a board certified pediatrician, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I see a lot of, which is fever. And I think it's one of the things that as parents we worry the most about is when our child has a fever. Before I get into the video, I do need to make a quick disclaimer. While I am a doctor, a pediatrician, I am not your doctor or your child's pediatrician, so please consult your own physician if you have any concerns at all. And this video is just meant for general educational purposes. So here we go. Fever. What is a true fever? Medically, we define a fever as a temperature of 38 degrees Celsius or 100.4 or more degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, and that is a core body temperature. So, for babies, generally under the age of 2 or 1 years of age, you want to check a rectal temperature. I know some parents don't like to do that, but really that is the only true way to measure a real temperature in a baby. They can't hold a thermometer in their mouths. For adults and older kids, the mouth is the best place. And so a temperature of 100.4 or more is when medically we consider it a true fever. Less than that, it's not considered a true fever. You might feel miserable. You may have other symptoms, viral symptoms, but again, it's not a temperature less than 100.4. We don't go running and looking for a source of the fever. Okay. Now with babies, parents often say, well, are they teething? So teething can cause a fever, but generally only around 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. If you're going to like 101, 102, then it's likely not the teething. So what is the source of the fever, right? That's what parents want to know. Why does my child have a fever? The most common reason why anyone gets a fever, why most people get a fever, are viruses. Okay, viruses are all around us, and there's so many of them. And your body will raise the temperature so that your body can fight off the infection. So a fever is not a bad thing. It's helping you fight off the infection. So really, I only treat the fever if I myself or my kids or my patients are uncomfortable. Okay. I know some doctors say give medicine around the clock, Tylenol, Motrin alternating, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, paracetamol alternating. I don't agree with treating a fever around the clock, and that is not the latest research either, okay? You want to treat the fever for comfort, but if, let's say, your child has a fever, but they're sitting there comfortably, they're drinking their fluids, great. Let the fever run its course. Again, like I said, it's helping your body fight off the infection. If you think about it, a good example would be when we cook things, we cook. Why? Because part of the reason is, obviously we're cooking the food so we can eat it, but it kills off germs, right? You want to reheat to a certain temperature because it kills off any germs. So your body also in that way tries to fight off infections by raising its temperature. So fever in itself is not dangerous. There's a reason for it. There's a purpose for it. So, treat it if you or your child feel miserable. But if your child is otherwise acting fine, let the fever run its course. Okay. On that note, a lot of parents say, oh, well, my child just laying around, they won't do anything. Yes, treat the fever then, because we want to make sure that the child or the patient is staying hydrated. Okay. The most important thing when you're sick or your child is sick is to stay hydrated. A lot of parents get concerned, oh, my child isn't eating much. That's okay. That's not going to get your kid in trouble. What's going to get them in trouble is not drinking fluids. Okay, so most kids will not eat many solids when they're sick. If you think about it, as an adult, you usually don't feel like eating much either when you're sick, but we just push ourselves because we can override that. Okay, kids listen to their bodies and they won't eat, and that's fine. Just make sure they're sipping on fluids, and generally if they're not eating, it is recommended they don't just drink plain water because that's going to make them feel sicker. They can start producing ketones, which is going to make them feel worse. Okay, so give them fluids that have sugar and electrolytes. You can make your own little concoction or rehydration fluid that you can look up online, which has some sugar, a little bit of salt in it. Or you can, give them some apple juice, a little watered down Gatorade, but they need that sugar and electrolytes, okay? I know generally recommend no sugary drinks to kids, and I think that's great advice when a child is healthy. That is what I do in my house. But when your kids are sick, give them the sugar. If it means you're giving them popsicles and juice, give them that. They're sick, okay? They need that extra energy, even if it's in liquid form, that extra glucose. So now a fever from a virus can run for about 3 to 5 days. And that's okay. When to get your child seen. Now, if your baby is less than 3 months of age, they have to be seen with a fever of 100.4 or more, okay? 38 degrees Celsius. This advice does not apply to anyone under the age of 3 months. If your baby is less than the age of 2 months, they have to go to the emergency room with a fever. Okay, for everyone else, this is the general advice. If you treat the fever, and now babies under 6 months of age cannot get ibuprofen or Motrin, you can give them Tylenol for comfort again. If you treat the fever and the child looks great, they're sipping on their fluids, great. It can run from anywhere from 3 to 5 days, but if the fever is going on continuously past 4 days, I do recommend that you go ahead and get examined just to make sure nothing else is going on, like no secondary bacterial infection is developing, because sometimes these viruses, they can you can get a secondary bacterial infection. For kids, commonly it could be an ear infection, sometimes pneumonia. So if that's the case, your child should get seen. Other reasons to get seen with a fever would be if your child has a fever and there are no other symptoms. It's good to get seen just to make sure that it is, the exam is good. Generally, viruses will have some sort of other symptoms with them. Not always. Sometimes viruses will just cause high fevers, okay? So fair warning, you may go get your child seen and be told it's a virus. That happens a lot as well. Viruses can sometimes just cause a fever. But generally, they will also give you maybe a little bit of a stuffy nose, a little bit of congestion, possibly a cough, maybe a little bit of diarrhea, okay? And then, generally for kids under the age of 1, I do recommend you don't wait too long to get them seen, just because they're so little. Other reasons to get your child seen with a fever would be if they're having labored breathing. So their chest and belly are moving really hard and fast. They should get seen. If they seem extremely lethargic. So by that, I think the medical definition of lethargic is different from the parental definition of lethargic. So medically, when we say lethargy, we mean that you are just out of it. You're just laying there, not moving, won't do anything no matter what is given. So like if a child has a fever, they might appear like that. Treat the fever. And if they perk up, then they don't have to go to the emergency room, okay? But if you treat the fever comes down and they're still not moving, they still seem out of it, that's a true emergency. Then you take them to the ER, okay? Other reasons to take your child in sooner than later is if they're vomiting continuously more than once or twice. They have to be seen because they're going to get dehydrated. So labored breathing, true lethargy, vomiting, or if they have a fever and neck stiffness, and I don't mean oh, my neck hurts, because sometimes parents will come in saying, oh, he or she said, my neck hurts. No, I mean they can't do this, okay? If your child's neck is stiff, they can't move it around, you go to the emergency room, okay? Because that could indicate meningitis. If your child is acting extremely unusual, abnormal behavior, having difficulty walking, all those reasons, go to the emergency room. Other than that, if your child is just running a fever, otherwise perks up, you don't have to get them seen right away, okay? You can take care of them at home. But if the fever goes on more than 4 days for younger kids or 5 days for older kids, get them seen, okay? Make sure it's not turning into something else. Now, at what one question I guess get asked a lot is, at what temperature do we go to the emergency room? The answer is there is no such temperature, okay? Again, it's not the temperature. It is really how the patient is acting. Viruses can cause high fevers. Lots of viruses can cause high fevers, okay? 103, 104, 105, 106. I've seen them all. But really, if you treat the fever and the child perks up, then it's likely nothing seriously wrong with them, okay? Now, I think there is this, old wives' tale, or this, especially the grandparents will pass on the thought that with a high fever, you could get brain damage. That is not true, okay? And I think where that thought came from is some kids are prone to getting seizures from fevers. I was one of those kids, okay? And studies show there is no long-term brain damage from febrile seizures. That's what they're called, febrile seizures. But that being said, if your child has a fever and has a seizure for the first time, they should be seen just to make sure there isn't something else going on causing the seizure. You know, they get examined, and then the doctor decides if, you know, it's a true febrile seizure or is something else going on, okay? So don't just sit at home saying, oh, well, it's a febrile seizure. If it's the first time it happened, get your child seen. But generally, again, even febrile seizures, they don't cause any brain damage. Some kids under the age of 5 are just prone to that. So I think that's where the thought comes from, that, oh, a high temperature can give you brain damage. It cannot. Your body will not kill itself, okay? So don't get alarmed by the number. Look at the patient, look at your child, see how they're behaving. Keep them comfortable, keep them hydrated. And, you know, your body is just trying to fight off the infection. Let it do its thing. If your child is sleeping at night with a fever and they're sleeping peacefully, let them sleep with the fever. I do that with my kids, and oftentimes you'll find they'll get better faster because, you know, the higher temperature is helping the body fight off the infection. Okay, so don't be afraid of fevers. They're helping your body fight off an infection. But again, if there are any concerns at all, get them seen. All the reasons I listed, all the red flags that I discussed earlier, you know, labored breathing, true lethargy, persistent vomiting, unusual behavior, neck stiffness, get your child seen. Other than that, keep them home, keep them comfortable, and keep yourselves out of the emergency room because they're full of germs. They're great for when you have a true emergency, but at any other time, they're not great. You sit around, you wait for a long time, and chances are your child's gonna pick up other new germs from there and be sick next week again, okay? So take care of yourselves, take some natural stuff, multivitamins, eat some vitamin C rich foods, healthy foods, keep up with the vitamin D supplements, and, you know, keep yourselves healthy. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, and share this video. If you have any questions, please post them down below, and I'll try my very best to answer them in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.